The gift of mockery. Commander Natasha Petrov stood at the observation deck of Unity Station, staring at what the Galactic Alliance considered their generous gift to humanity. The Icarus floated in the void like a tarnished antique, its hull bearing scars from countless battles and decades of service. The ship was officially classified as a light cruiser, though salvage might have been a more accurate description. "They're not even trying to hide their contempt," Lieutenant James Walsh said beside her, his voice tight with barely contained frustration. 50 years of diplomatic relations, and this is what they offer as our entry ticket into their precious alliance. Natasha kept her expression neutral, though she shared his sentiment. The Icarus was over a century old by Alliance standards, a relic from an era when their technology was merely centuries ahead of Earth's instead of millennia. Its quantum drive was 4 generations outdated, and according to initial reports, life support functioned in only 65% of the ship's compartments. "What they're doing," she said carefully, "is giving us exactly what they think we deserve. The bare minimum to fulfill their agreement to allow Earth into the Alliance fleet." She turned to face her assembled senior staff, each chosen specifically for this assignment. Dr. Amara Patel, their quantum systems specialist, was already absorbed in her datapad, scrolling through technical specifications with an intensity that suggested she saw something others had missed. Beside her, Engineering Chief Richard Torres studied the ship's schematics with the same gleam in his eyes that had earned him recognition for revolutionizing Earth's fusion reactor designs. "Think of it as an opportunity," Natasha continued. "They believe they're being clever, giving us a ship so old and broken that we'll either fail completely or spend years just trying to keep it running. Either way, we'll be too busy to interfere with their real operations." "Commander," Dr. Patel looked up from her datapad, her expression carefully controlled. "I need to show you something about the quantum core specifications. In private." Natasha nodded and led Amara to a quiet corner of the observation deck. As soon as they were out of earshot, the scientist's professional demeanor cracked into barely contained excitement. "They don't understand what they've given us," she whispered, turning her datapad to show complex diagrams. "This older model quantum core isn't inferior. It's just different. The newer cores are completely automated, locked down with so many safety protocols and AI controls that they can only function exactly as designed. But this one," she gestured at a particularly dense cluster of equations, "it's like comparing a supercomputer to a quantum computer. The newer ones are more powerful in pure processing terms, but this old core can do things they never thought to try." Natasha studied Amara's face carefully. "You're certain about this? Give me 3 months with Richard and a solid technical team. We can make this ship do things the Alliance doesn't believe are possible." Natasha turned back to look at the Icarus. Under the harsh light of Earth's orbit, she could see the patches of mismatched hull plating, the scared weapon mounts, the outdated sensor arrays. But now she was starting to see something else. Potential. She gathered her team again. "I'm accepting command," she announced. "But we're going to do this our way. The Alliance thinks they're dumping a piece of junk on us. They expect us to either fail or spend the next decade struggling just to keep life support running." She smiled. "Instead, we're going to turn their cast-off into something they never imagined possible." Over the next month, Natasha assembled her crew with meticulous care. In addition to her core team, she recruited engineers who had experience modifying alien tech during first contact, computer specialists who had reverse-engineered Alliance systems, and military veterans who understood the importance of keeping secrets. The Alliance liaison, a crystalline being named Xerith, seemed amused by their enthusiasm. The Icarus was scheduled for molecular recycling, they said during the handover ceremony. "We thought perhaps humans might find some educational value in attempting to maintain her. Though I should warn you, Commander Petrov, any unauthorized modifications to Alliance technology would be a serious violation of the integration protocols." "Of course," Natasha replied smoothly. "We're just grateful for the opportunity to prove ourselves worthy of the Alliance's trust." As soon as Xerath left, Natasha called her senior staff to what would become their primary meeting room, a cargo bay that still maintained atmospheric integrity. Amara and Richard immediately began laying out their plans. The quantum core is just the beginning, Amara explained, projecting a hologram of the ship's systems. We can modify it, combine it with human innovations in ways they never considered. Their rigid thinking is our advantage. Richard pointed to several key junctions in the power distribution network. We've already figured out how to increase power output by 50% just by reconceptualizing how the quantum field interfaces with normal space. How long before they notice? Walsh asked. They won't, Amara said confidently. Their modern sensors are calibrated to detect very specific energy signatures. As long as we keep our modifications within certain parameters, the Icarus will just read as a slightly quirky old ship running at unexpectedly high efficiency. Natasha studied the hologram, watching the power flows that her team had already begun to modify. We'll need to be careful, she said, not just about hiding our modifications, but about how and when we reveal what we can do. The moment they realize what we're actually capable of, they'll try to shut us down. The Alliance had meant to humble humanity by giving them their worst ship. Instead, they had handed them an opportunity. The Icarus might be the weakest ship in the Alliance fleet now, but Natasha had a feeling that wouldn't be true for long. They just had to be smart about how they revealed their true capabilities. Hidden potential. 3 months into their assignment, the Icarus's engine room bore little resemblance to standard Alliance specifications. Dr. Amara Patel stood before a holographic display of the quantum core, watching energy patterns shift in ways that would have horrified traditional Alliance engineers. Richard Torres worked beside her, making minute adjustments to their latest modifications. Power flow stabilizing, Richard reported, his fingers dancing across hybrid controls. Quantum field coherence at 125% of theoretical maximum. They said it couldn't be done. Amara smiled, gesturing at the swirling patterns. That you couldn't merge a quantum probability field with a human-designed uncertainty drive. But look at that. It's not just working, it's exceeding both systems' original specifications. Their breakthrough had come when Amara realized that the inefficiencies in the old quantum core weren't flaws at all, but evidence of a fundamentally different approach to faster-than-light travel. While modern Alliance ships used brute computational force to calculate perfect quantum tunneling solutions, the Icarus's older system worked more intuitively, riding probability waves through space-time. Alliance patrol vessel approaching, the ship's AI announced, preparing for routine inspection. The team activated their camouflage protocols. Holographic overlays shimmered into place, making the modified engine room appear standard, if somewhat dated. Power readings adjusted to expected levels, and experimental systems went dormant. Inspector Direx, a towering insectoid, stepped through the airlock. Still struggling with power distribution. I see, they clicked, managing to sound both sympathetic and condescending. Perhaps if you focused on maintaining existing systems rather than attempting improvements. We're doing our best to learn, Amara replied carefully. The technology gap is significant. After the inspector left, Commander Petrov called a senior staff meeting in their secure briefing room. Lieutenant Walsh provided an intelligence update. The Alliance is getting nervous about something in the outer territories. They've increased patrols, and I've intercepted coded transmissions suggesting fleet mobilization. How close are we to being ready for a real test? Natasha asked. Amara and Richard exchanged glances. The new drive system is functioning beyond expectations, Amara reported. We can match any modern Alliance ship's speed, but with 40% less energy signature. And weapons? You're going to love this, Walsh grinned. We've modified the old particle beam arrays using principles from human plasma physics. On standard scans, they'll read as barely functional. But in reality, he highlighted several key systems. We can concentrate power in ways the Alliance never considered. First contact, first blood. The distress call came during third shift. A civilian mining outpost was under attack by unknown forces, with no other military vessels within response range. Commander Petrov gathered her senior staff as the Icarus dropped out of quantum space near the conflict zone. 3 sleek, aggressive ships of unknown design surrounded the mining station. Their technology appeared to be on par with modern Alliance vessels, which meant they were expecting an easy victory when they spotted the approaching ancient cruiser. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Jin Park reported. "Audio only." "They're laughing at us, Commander." "Let them," Natasha replied calmly. "Combat stations, but remember, Level 1 protocols only. We're just a lucky old ship with a brave crew." The first attacker swept in confidently, energy weapons blazing. The Icarus's modified shields absorbed the impact without visible strain, though Amara carefully made their power readings fluctuate to suggest they were barely holding. "Return fire," Natasha ordered. "Standard response pattern." Walsh triggered their weapons, carefully moderating their output to seem only slightly better than expected. The attackers' shields buckled surprisingly quickly, forcing them to retreat. "They're moving to surround us," Walsh reported, allowing himself a small smile. "They think they figured out our weakness." Natasha watched the tactical display as the enemy ships maneuvered. They were good, she had to admit. Their formation would have spelled doom for any normal vessel of the Icarus's apparent capability, but they had no idea what they were really facing. "Let them think they have us," she ordered. "Then show them Level 2. The change was subtle but devastating. The Icarus's modified engines responded with impossible agility, slipping through gaps in the enemy formation that shouldn't have existed. Their weapons found weak points that standard targeting systems would have missed, and their shields shrugged off concentrated fire that should have vaporized them. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. When it was over, 2 enemy ships were disabled, and the third had flowed into quantum space. The mining outpost was safe, and its crew was absolutely baffled by what they'd witnessed. "Mining Control is asking how we did that," Park reported. "They say their sensors must be malfunctioning because according to their readings, half of what we just did was impossible. Tell them their sensors were damaged." Rising storm. The holographic alert pulsed an angry red as Commander Natasha Petrov strode into the Icarus's newly modified tactical center. What had once been an auxiliary storage bay was now a state-of-the-art command and control facility, though anyone conducting a standard Alliance inspection would see only scattered crates and outdated monitoring equipment. "Status report," she ordered, noting the tension in her officers' faces. "Multiple quantum signature distortions detected at the edge of the Helios sector," Walsh reported. "Configuration matches the unknown hostiles from our previous encounter, but..." He paused, checking his readings. "There are a lot more of them this time." The tactical overlay showed at least 15 vessels, each significantly more powerful than the ships they'd faced in their first engagement. Amara studied their energy signatures with growing concern. "They're using hybrid technology," she reported. "Some kind of fusion between Alliance tech and something else. The patterns," she hesitated. "They're similar to some of our modifications, but cruder, more aggressive. And they're not trying to hide it," Richard added from engineering. "Which means they're preparing to go public," Natasha finished, making a show of force. She straightened. "How's Project Prometheus coming along?" "Integration is complete," Amara replied. "We can now dynamically reconfigure the quantum core's probability matrix in real time, affecting everything from weapons to shields to sensors. The power requirements are enormous, but with Richard's new distribution system, we can handle it. Though it'll be impossible to hide once we activate the full system," Richard warned. "The energy signatures will be unlike anything in known space." The battle that followed would later be described in classified Alliance reports as theoretically impossible. The Icarus moved with impossible grace, its enhanced engines responding instantly to commands. The raiders, expecting an easy victory over what appeared to be an obsolete cruiser, were caught completely off guard. But their true test came when Alliance reinforcements arrived, led by High Commander Valaxis herself. The crystalline being's voice crackled over the comm. Icarus, power down immediately and prepare for inspection. Your modifications to Alliance technology are in violation of multiple treaties. Send them everything, Natasha ordered her crew. All our technical documentation, every modification, every improvement. It's time to show them exactly what humanity can bring to the Alliance. Triumph of innovation. The emergency alarm screamed through the Icarus's corridors as massive quantum ruptures appeared on their scopes. The unknown threat, a mysterious force that had been harassing Alliance borders for months, had finally launched their main assault. Alliance fleet is taking heavy casualties, Walsh reported grimly. Their standard defenses aren't working. The enemy seems to be able to adapt to any fixed defense pattern almost instantly. Natasha watched the tactical display as Alliance ships fell back in disarray. Then she smiled. That's exactly why we're going to win. Activate Project Prometheus. Full power. The Icarus's systems surged as hidden modifications came fully online. The quantum core pulsed with impossible energy as Amara's probability matrix reconfiguration took effect. Shield harmonics shifted into patterns that shouldn't have existed, while weapon systems charged with power that defied conventional physics. Broadcast our modifications to the Alliance fleet, Natasha ordered. Not just the technical specs, the underlying principles. Show them how to think differently about their own technology. As the battle raged, something unprecedented happened. One by one, Alliance ships began implementing simplified versions of the Icarus's innovations. They couldn't match the human vessel's full capabilities, but they were adapting, changing, doing things their builders had never imagined possible. The enemy forces, programmed to counter standard Alliance tactics, found themselves facing an ever-changing, ever-evolving defense. Ships that should have been easy prey were suddenly executing maneuvers that violated their tactical predictions. They're retreating, Walsh announced after hours of intense combat. Their adaptive algorithms can't handle the level of variability we're throwing at them. In the aftermath, the Alliance Council chamber was silent as Natasha finished her presentation. You gave us your cast-off technology because you thought it would keep us contained, she said. Instead, we showed you something you've forgotten, that true innovation comes from understanding principles, not just following protocols. High Commander Valaxis rose slowly. What you did was dangerous, they said. Reckless. Unauthorized. They paused. And exactly what the Alliance needs. We've grown too rigid, too certain of our superiority. You've shown us that there's still room for innovation, for seeing old things in new ways. Later, back on the Icarus, Natasha stood with her crew in engineering, watching the quantum core pulse with its impossible power. Think they'll ever admit they did us a favor? Richard asked, grinning. Giving us this old ship instead of one of their modern ones. Probably not, Natasha replied. But that's okay. We've proved what humanity can do with a chance and an open mind. She looked around at the engine room, at all the innovations they'd created. And this is just the beginning. The Icarus had started as a cast-off, a diplomatic insult meant to keep humanity in its place. Instead, it had become something unprecedented, a bridge between human ingenuity and Alliance technology. The real question now was what they would achieve next. The answer, Natasha suspected, would change the galaxy forever.